My most controversial video ever, I tell you. Borrowing from your retirement account. Ah! Did you say borrow from your retirement account? Yes, sir, I sure did. And we're going to hear the naysayers come out and scream bloody murder, and they're just all wrong. So we're going to run a couple numbers here. Let's just get the gist of the matter here, shall we? Putting money into your 401k is actually simple. You have tax deferrals going in, or your 403b, or your TSP. Tax deferrals going in, you get a tax deduction on the money going in. You don't pay tax on it, if that makes sense. When it comes out, it's taxable. Pretty simple. You pay tax. All right? So when you're borrowing from your retirement account, and you can borrow up to 50% of your equity up to $50,000. So if you have $80,000 in your 401k, that's yours, you're fully vested in, you could borrow up to 50% of that. In that case, it's $40,000. You cannot borrow more than 50% of your equity. So you can borrow up to $50,000 or 50% of your vested balance, whichever is lower. If you have $200,000 in your 401k, you can only borrow $50,000. If you have $80,000 in your 401k, you can only borrow $40,000. It's just that simple. All right. So in this case, we have a 401k loan. We have a 401k. We're pulling the money in, tax deferred. But we're going to take a loan and it comes out tax free. All right. So the money goes in tax deferred. We're going to take that loan out. It comes out tax free. Later on, when we put the money back in, it'll be taxable to us. We don't get a tax deduction on the money going back in. And then when we pull that money out, it's taxable coming out, just like taxable coming out here. So if we take our trusty calculator, you'll quickly see we have one tax. We can write that guy off, one tax. We have one tax deferred, write that guy off. So essentially what's happening here, it's almost like a Roth. You're putting your money in after tax, and you got your money out tax-free. It's just in this case, you're putting the money in, you're taking the money out tax-free, beginning the front end of it, and you're putting your money back in taxable. Now, people will say, and rightly so, they say, but Josh, don't you know? Let me write up an example here for you. All right, so let me show you an example here. We're borrowing $50,000. We're going to borrow that to do anything. This time, we're going to show you how we're going to pay a credit card off of that. We got 120 payments. All right, so what that basically is, you got to pay it back over 5 years. And you usually 2 checks per month is basically what most people have. So when I borrowed against my 401k when I was at USA, we got paid 24 times a year. I can't remember, 24 times a year. That's twice a month essentially. So over 5 years, that's 60 payments, except you get paid twice a month. So in this case, it's 120 payments. 5% is the interest rate. So each payment is $471. That's what we're going to pay back. $471 twice a month over the course of 5 years, which means we're going to end up paying back to ourselves $56,250. All right. Now, when that money comes out, the entirety is taxable, even though we only took out this tax-free. All right. So we didn't pay any tax when we pulled that money out, but we have $56,250 that's coming out tax-free, taxable. So what people will say is, but Josh, that's 6,250 is double tax because all this money that goes back to pay that loan off is post-tax as well. All right, so we're borrowing it tax-free. We're putting the money back in post-tax. When the money comes out, is taxable, all taxable. Now this and this, the $50,000, that makes sense. We already pulled it out tax-free. We used it someplace else. So this is just this right here equals, except the interest we made, which we put into our own account, by the way, it's our own money. We're literally being our own bank here. We got to pay tax on that, even though that interest was part of the post-tax we're making contributions to put back into the account to pay off the debt. So people say, oh, for a 15% tax bracket, you're paying double tax on about $978. They'll say $978 is what you're paying tax on. Twice, because we had to pay tax here and we had to pay tax there. And I get that, but I'm going to show you why that's, in my opinion, is silly. So check this out. All right, so what you're going to see here is we got a $50,000 loan outstanding. All right, we're paying 14.99% interest. It could be for anything. I don't care what it is. We're going to pay it back over 5 years, and again, same thing, increments of 120 payments, so twice a month. It's going to run us about $600 a month, give or take. Depending on when you start the loan and all that stuff. But still, we're going to use roughly about $600 a month. We're going to end up paying $72,000 back. $72,000 back. All that money that we're paying back is after tax too, by the way. We don't get a tax deduction. We used to get tax deduction on credit card interest. Can you believe that? Until I think it was the Tax Reform Act of '86 or TEFRA in '82. I can't remember, but when Reagan got rid of that, thankfully, because that was just stupid. So this is all taxable income that we're using to pay off this debt. And then on top of that, we're going to end up paying $72,000 on a $50,000 note. So that means we have $22,000 of interest that we accumulated that is taxable. So we got double tax before, basically $950, I think it was roughly $1,000 of interest that was double taxation. Well, what is that? I mean, is that not double taxation? I mean, we're paying the interest with after-tax income. Yeah, I'd rather pay the interest, pay double tax on the money I paid myself. That's a hell of a lot lower than this right here, 100% of the time. That's not even debatable to me. I don't understand why people don't get this. Like, now what people say is, I mean, this is just not, it's just rocket. And then you can say, okay, well, what if this wasn't 14.99%? What if it's 5%? All right, let's just use a 5% interest instead. And I tell you, I can't tell you how many people I have. They got, I don't know, $200,000 in a 401k, and they got $18,000 on a loan, on a credit card loan. It's costing 14.99%, or they might got a snowmobile, an RV, yeah, even an RV or something like that. I'm like, why aren't you borrowing against your 401k? I literally don't understand that. So let's check this out then. So here we're paying we got $50,000, 120 payments at 5% interest, costs us roughly again $470 a month, give or take. We're end up paying back $56,000. All that is taxable. Now in this case, it's a wash, except for the fact that that interest that you're paying to the bank, this $60,000, $6,848 that you had to pay tax on, that's going to the bank. Capital One or something like that. Before the interest, whatever it was, 6250, was going to you. This is, even if this is taxable, it's going to you. When you're paying your loan back, you're paying it back to yourself. When you're paying a loan back here, you're paying it back to the bank. Comes out taxable, just like either one of these taxable. You're both paying after-tax income to the loan or to yourself. Which one would you rather have? I'd rather have my after-tax income go to me as opposed to bank. This is just weird to me how many people get crazy on this. Now, what people say is, yeah, but Josh, don't you know if you would have left that $50,000 in there? This is in my book, Strategic Money Planning. And if I remember, I'll put a link to the show notes. I do a detailed comparison of this as well, how borrowing from your 401k increases your net wealth. Anyway, so they say, yeah, but if you left that $50,000 in there at 8% a year and you paid that interest, this payment right here, you have $147,000 in your portfolio. So let me tell you what I'm talking about here. So these people are saying, if you left that $50,000 in there, all right, and instead, it's crazy to me. We left that $50,000 in there at 8% a year, and we're making the same amount of payments at $470 at 8% a year, $470 a month, a pay period. We'd have 8% a year at $470 a pay period. It's 120 payments. We'd have 140. I think it's about $145,000 in there. Yeah, that's true. But guess what? You also had this loan out here that's costing you $21,000 or whatever, I can't remember, of interest. So net of this, you have 145, and that's assuming a pretty significant assumption you're going to get 8% a year each and every year. You still have to come up with the cash to pay this guy here. I mean, yes, this is tax deferred. This all comes out taxable. I get all that, but you still need to come up with the cash to put this guy. Do you really have the excess cash flow to put $470 a month, or no, $470 a pay period into here, plus $470 pay period into there? And no, you don't. I mean, you might. Most people don't. You don't. So what we do is we say, let me eliminate the bank from the interest, put it back to myself, and guess what? If this does go 8%, yeah, that $50,000 I took out won't be getting that 8%. Oh, but wait a second. Every time I make a payment into this guy, so I start off with $470 a month, $470, so let's show you what I'm talking about. What's this number right here? That's my total account balance. All right, what I mean by that is I borrow the $50,000, I pay myself interest at 5% a year, so I got $56,000 when I'm done paying the loan back. But the money I'm putting in on a regular basis, month after month after month, is also getting that 8% a year as well. So I'm borrowing $50,000, all right? I'm only giving myself $6,250 of interest on the $50,000 with a 5% interest I'm getting. But every time I make a payment of $470 a month, that $470 a month is also growing by the same interest rate here, 8%. So I borrow $50,000 and I actually end up with $86,000 in my own money at the end of 5 years. I don't just have $56,250. That's what I had to pay myself back with a 5% interest rate I had to pay myself. But those payments also grow. So when all is said and done, this is what I'm looking at right here. Because $470 a month over 5 years, 120 payments at 8% interest gives me $86,000. Not too shabby. Now, if we look back here, $145,000, but it cost us $71,000. What's better? What's better? Because we had to pay that loan back. I'm sitting on $85,000 here. Here I got $145. I grant you I have $145, but let's just say I had to pay that back as $71,000. Is it? Yeah, $71,000. So I got $145 minus 71. I'm sitting at $74,000. And I show this again in my book. I'm sitting at $74,000. So net, after all said and done, I have higher net worth by $10,000 in this account, even right here. Even though, yes, I will be double taxed on a little bit. Only on the interest I've made. And the interest and on the growth I made too. There is double taxation, absolutely. Well, I don't deny that in the least. Small potatoes, the overall scheme of things, where I can save myself that right there, and the interest and the growth goes back to me, not the bank. Small potatoes. I don't get why people don't get this, man. That's weird to me. I'm like, it's not even debatable. Here we're getting 8% a year, no double taxation, but when all is said and done, with our payments that we had to pay to the credit card, all right, we are left with $74,000. When all is said and done, now not the taxation on this, I grant you, the taxation is still going to be the same. Still going to be the same because this is all tax deferred, which means it all comes out taxable. This is not tax deferred. I mean, it's tax deferred. It all comes out taxable. That's where I'm going with this. The money that we spent on this right here to pay ourselves back is after tax income. The money that we spent to pay off the credit card loan is after tax income. So when all said and done, these are both being taxed the same as ordinary income tax. We have more money here by borrowing than we do there. I don't get why people don't understand that. Yes, you should unequivocally borrow against your retirement accounts if you have debt. That's not debatable to me. Now, you can make, I don't know what else, I guess you could say, oh, but if you leave within 5 years, you got to pay all that money back in one fell swoop, or it can be taxable and subject to a 10% penalty. That happened to me. So I left USA. I think I still had $18,000 outstanding on my 401k loan, something like that. And I said I could pay it all off and reduce my cash because I need some cash to start my business. Or I'll say I'll just take the hit. And basically, they reduced my 401k by that amount. Had to pay tax on that. Plus, I had to pay a 10% penalty. I said, that's fine. I said, I'm starting a business, man. So I didn't care. But yes, because I didn't pay it back within 5 years. I had the cash to do it. I want to guard my cash. But yes, if you leave within 5 years and you're under the age of 59 and a half and you don't pay the whole thing back, you'll pay income tax and a penalty. Just like a premature distribution on any kind of retirement account anyway. No big deal, in my opinion. Anyway, love your thoughts. Again, these is controversy, because you're going against the orthodoxy. When I first started YouTube, the reason I typed in 2017, I said, borrow against your 401k. And everyone was adamant, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, except my man Jazz Wealth. Jazz Wealth, Dustin Tibbetts. He's the only guy who said, yeah, I'm 100% man. I reached out to him. I probably should interview Dustin again. Let me check this out real quick. Let's look at on YouTube what it looks like. All right, so we're incognito, so theoretically it doesn't know who I am, but I think it does because it knows that I'm in Atlanta, so we're getting all these live streams here. Well, I guess because we got a lot of people watching. Anyway, we're going to type in borrow against 401k. And let's see what is coming up recently. This is why you never borrow against your 401k, said Dave Ramsey. How 401k loans work. Let's see here. Is a 401k loan a good idea? Where to get a right here, my man Jazwell. 3 times okay to borrow from your 401k. That's a video I saw right there. Absolutely. Hey, look at this guy. Whoever this, see the forest through the trees. It's actually saying 401k loans explained. You should take that. Man, look at that. So we're borrowing against my 401k to pay debt. All right. Don't touch your 401k. Why you should focus on paying down the mortgage or investing. All right. So, oh boy, they're lying to you about your 401k. Oh, for the love of the good Lord. All right. Anyway, the point being is Dustin was the only one saying it was okay to borrow against your 401k. I said, dude, I don't understand why people would say it's not. If you have credit card, the last thing people say is, yeah, but then you'll find yourself right back in there. All right, if you're going to find yourself right back in credit card debt, then don't do it, 100%. At some point, you got to be disciplined and be a big boy. Put your big boy pants on and stop getting into debt. Stop being usury. Stop being the slave to the freaking bankers, dude. You want to stick it to the man? Get out of debt. Use cash and stick it to the man. And get out of debt. I mean, that's how you stick it to the man. All right, God bless. Love your thoughts. We'll see you.